Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be, wherever you are. You have tuned in live to the Daily Takeaway. This is episode 5. It's about gaming and electronic sports. Something that electronic sports is something that still society doesn't really take that seriously. It's still sort of sniggered at and a bit amusing to some people that they don't consider playing a five-a-side League of Legends game a sport in comparison to, say, football. But they forget that chess is also considered a sport. Chess is very mentally taxing, and only somebody naive would think that concentrating for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more hours mentally isn't exhausting. It does take mental fortitude, mental toughness. You have to be relatively fit. You don't see many fat chess players, for example, do you? I've never really seen much in the way of an obese chess player. It is important to maintain a level of fitness, a level of physical endurance and mental sharpness, uh, and this is all beneficial. I mean, back in the day, like we're talking late 1900s, obviously 1990s, early noughties, gaming was just breaking into sort of the ether, and gaming back then, prize money was several £1,000s at best. Nowadays, you're looking at League of Legends with their huge productions, um, basically like millions, absolute millions upon millions. Um, Counter Strike tournaments offering you know ludicrous amounts of money to win, and professional gamers these days can make a living off of gaming just by attending an event, winning, and getting a cut of the money. They can live off of it, and through sponsorships and so on, with the organisations therewith, make perhaps a comfortable living, but perhaps. So I used to be myself a semi-professional gamer. But I was a semi-professional gamer probably too early on. Um, it would have been better to be a semi-professional or professional gamer now, when you can stream and earn a living through streaming, and when you can practice online, stream that, and then you have your games, your official games. You go to tournaments and maybe win money there. That's all televised too, or at least streamed on the internet. I believe there are esports television channels now that are dedicated to, you know, esport events, things like that. Um, let's go through a list. I'm going to have a quick look for a list of earning, top earning uh, esports players, and there's a list here of top earning players of 2022. So let me just get this list up for you, so you can have a look at this. Here we've got a player from China called Order Zheng Zihai. As of this year, has earned $452,000, but has a total earnings of $1.1 million. That's quite comfortable in a year. We have somebody here called Paraboy Zhu Bocheng. Has earned just a little bit less this year, but has earned more overall. The top countries, where's most of the money? China, 963 players with a total earnings of nearly $16 million. So this would this would have been a massive dream back in the day, back in like the late 90s and the early noughties. Prize money for an entire year was you were lucky to get, I don't know, a mouse and a mouse mat, maybe 40, £50, maybe 100. If you won the entire competition, you might have gotten, oof, £30,000. What was that? There was a competition back in the day called the Cyber Athlete Professional League. We'll have a look to see what the prize money was back then. The Cyber Athlete Professional League. It's been a while. Here we have the 2013 championship prizes, £6,500 for StarCraft. CPL 2007 finals in London, $300,000. Here we have the CPL Winter 2005 was $100,000. You got $500,000. This was spread out. $150,000 in 2004. I believe one of the highest earning gamers of all time was somebody that I love to watch, and his name was Fatality. Here you have it here. Individual world champions. Fatality had won it 4 times. And as a result of his success, he ended up working for Creative, and he made motherboards. I even have some of his headphones, Fatality headsets. So here you have an individual who was a professional player and subsequently went into developing headsets and motherboards and other such things. And you can buy his headsets today, cheap. Look, here they're out of stock, so they must be very popular. Very, very simple, very lightweight, very, very cheap and easy, and they work. They're not like the highest quality headset in the world, because they're worth about £30, maybe $50 top end. But you don't need to break the bank and spend £300, £300 on a headset. A lot of people in online gaming think that the better the equipment in terms of your peripherals, your miscellaneous, like your keyboard and your mouse and your mouse mat, if you just have a comfortable setup, that's fine. You don't need to copy the professionals that, use certain pieces of equipment, not because they want to, but because they're sponsored to. Gaming has come along a long way since I was semi-professional and going to events several times a year, taking part in the WCGs, the CPLs, the ESWCs. These are all acronyms. The Cyber Athlete Professional League, the World Cyber Games, WCG, and then the ESWC, which was like Esports World Championships or something like that, which was quite a European thing. And there were other competitions around the world too. And God, it would have been so much more fun. And my parents would have been more accepting of my choice to do gaming if they knew that the money was good and I could earn a decent living and not struggle. Whereas gaming in general back then, it's just a hobby. It was just a hobby. It still is a hobby now, but if you can get to a level where you're good, then people will pay you to play for them. And now players back then in the early 2000s, contracts were only just becoming a thing. But contracts back then were shady at best. Some of the world champions who I used to know personally were a Swedish team called SK, and the managers for these players took advantage of these players, and a lot of the players didn't even see any of the money that they earned from winning competitions. None of them saw it, and a lot of the players this World Championship team that were a force to be reckoned with for several years. Never saw any of the money that they were owed. Nowadays, of course, you've got more airtight, concrete contracts between the players and the organisations. Players can be bought and sold, a lot like players can be bought and sold in football. You're offered contracts, and if you want to have this player, then you have to buy out the contract, and it's now serious business. Korea. If you ever played this game, League of Legends, quite a popular game. I'll get you the Wikipedia article so I can just briefly tell you about it. It's commonly referred to as League, 2009 multiplayer online battle arena. It's basically five-a-side, where you control one character in a team of 5. Your teammates control the other 4 individually. And it's a 5 versus 5, where the ultimate goal is to destroy the opposing team's base. And their goal is to destroy your base, and whoever does that first wins. On the surface, very simple, but it has a high skill ceiling, which basically, a skill ceiling is just another way of saying how good you can be. In a sense, low skill ceiling games, you could say, would be tiddlywinks. Tiddlywinks, where you just flick a disc into a cup. Up to a certain point, most people would be pretty even at that. There's only so much you can do with tiddlywinks. But with League of Legends, there are many little nuances, opportunities, reaction times, skill-based. There's a lot of things that can factor into a successful player. And because there's so many things, that it raises the ceiling is very high. So that to become really, really, really good and on top of your game, these really good players can be by far and away more skilled than your average player. League of Legends back in Korea. Korea is a dominant force in League of Legends, in sort of arena games, in sort of tactical games like StarCraft. StarCraft is another game where you control a race. The purpose here is then it's usually a 1v1. So you're against your opponent, and your ultimate goal is to destroy their base before they destroy yours. Again, it's simple on the surface, but it has a huge skill ceiling. There are tactics. There are reaction times. There's micromanaging your base and your units to get to produce characters, things to fight for you. And then you've got to manage those individual units and control them in a way that with high precision, so they don't die, and they can output as much damage as they can, as efficiently as they can, and that requires a lot of control and a lot of precise movements and knowledge and sort of juggling. So, like, some units might have a certain range of motion, or an effective distance that they can attack at, and that range is finite. So a skill there would be to be able to jump in and out of that range without being attacked, and that takes skill. And Korea, for decades now, have had gaming. The gaming scene in Korea has been taken very seriously, and they take it very, very professionally too. Players that play for these certain organizations and teams in Korea are expected to go to the gym, are expected to sleep 8 hours a day, are expected to have good nutrition. So a lot of these teams, much like football teams now, have dedicated chefs and doctors and psychologists and it's treated as a big business because it is a big business. And because Korea was so far and away better than every other country, they would win 9 times out of 10. They're always a force to be reckoned with. China now, China have now joined into the elite. They've now become as good as, if not even better than, the Koreans. But they only learned how to do this by pinching all of the Koreans. So for a while, in like 2010 onwards, 2015 onwards, China bought up all of these Korean players and offered them ludicrous amounts of money to play in China. In so doing, China learned how the Koreans do business, how the Koreans trained, how the Koreans practice, what their day-to-day lives were, the counselling, the gym, the keeping fit, all of these things. China did, I suppose, did the right thing by just buying everybody up and learning. And now that they've learned how to go about it, they sent all the Koreans home, and now China rules the roost. Back in my day, back in the early 2000s, none of this was taken seriously. None of us were told that you need to eat properly, you need the right nutrients, you need the right macros, you need 8 hours sleep, you need to go to the gym, you need to do mental exercises, you need to practice, and you need to research, you need to do your homework, you need to do this, that, and everything else. None of us took that seriously. In fact, we were just gamers. We were just kids that enjoyed games and were addicted to games. We'd wake up early morning, we'd play games, we'd eat a bit, we'd go to the toilet, we'd wash, we'd play more games, and we'd go to bed at like midnight, and we'd wake up and do exactly the same thing every day thereafter. So we were incredibly unhealthy. But we were good at what we did, and we went to competitions, and we'd win some, we'd lose some, but we weren't contracted, we weren't paid to play. So the world of online gaming has changed so much. Now it's big business. Now you see on streaming services like YouTube streaming, and Twitch. Twitch was born for gamers, from originally called Justin TV, then became Twitch. It was a platform, still is largely a platform for gamers to stream their games. It is now branched out into other things, but there's an opportunity there for gamers, the good ones, the ones that people are interested in watching playing. They can earn a living sat in their own home and receiving donations and support, and have an audience watching them do what they do, which is great because the younger generations love to see their heroes and their role models play games, and play the games at a level that is really high. And I don't so much follow and watch those gamers anymore, but when I do, it does make you want to play the game that they're playing because they make it look so easy and effortless. It makes you want to pick up a controller or jump into a game and frag out. It's addictive. It's an interactive hobby, and it's escapism, and it's fun. I'm going to leave you quickly with maybe just this list of winners so you can see how much they win. I'm just going to quickly pop to the loo. I do apologise. I'm not feeling very well, so I'm just going to leave you with this, just as a quick review of how much each country has earned collectively over the last year, or half a year. And I'll be right back. I won't be 2 minutes. Thank you ever so much for waiting. I do apologise. I am, yes, as I say, not feeling very well today. Um, so where was I? Yeah, esports these days are it's more serious now. It does appear on the news, um, albeit that the segments that do appear on the news, they do mock the sports still, but it's taking a step in the right direction. These are the popular games of 2022. Player Unknown's Battlegrounds is a humongous game in Korea on mobile. A humongous. League of Legends, Wild Rift, Arena of Valor, all of these games they just have a lot of money in them now, which funds sort of the competitive scene. And depending on how big the competitive scene is, how many competitions there are, how many competitors there are, we'll see bigger world championships and worldwide tournaments and such. This sort of stuff did go on back in the early noughties, but not to the level that we see today. There are some videos back from early CPLs, the Cyber Athlete Professional League, that show the setups, and it's usually just office space that had been rented out to fill up with rows of computers, you know, next to one another, just rows and rows of computers on rows and rows of desks. No, no decent layouts, no sort of no like grand stages. Nowadays, you have the League of Legends stage is a huge production, huge production. They build these in the middle of stadiums, and it really is a sight, and huge screen so everyone can see the turnout's big enough. Um, Huge stages, and they take this stuff really seriously. This is a studio, of course, but the production value has gone through the roof. Back in the day, like say CPL 2004 pictures, this is what you're looking at. Just rent out a hall, put desks down, put some fabric over the desk, plonk the monitors and computers on top next to one another, and have them play. It's really noisy, basic, and that's what life was like back then. Really, just basic. But this was big stuff back in the day. This was the this was where it was at. You see the prize money here, first place. Can't quite tell how much money that is. 30,000. 30,000. Some 40,000 $40,000 for winning the Electronic Sports World Cup, the Counter-Strike champions. $40,000. Now, of course, first place. First place League of Legends winnings for the World Championships. But this is for Dota. They're offering $40 million for over 18 teams. $40 million last year. So that is by far and away better than $40,000. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. The League of Legends World Championships, 6 million. That's from 2018. I'm not quite sure what 2019 and 2020 offered, but so much more money. So much more money. And it's sort of sad to think that because some of us were so early in the scene that we've missed out on these sorts of opportunities where we could earn stack loads of cash for being good at a video game. I guess some of you are wondering, like, what sort of video game was I good at back in the day? I was good at a couple. One was a game called Counter-Strike, which back then was a modification, was a standalone game. Not a standalone game, it was a modification of another pre-existing game called Half-Life. You can have modifications for games, so you can have a base game, and some people create modifications for that game, and occasionally the modification for that game becomes more popular than the game. And for instance, the international here for Dota 2, Dota stands for Defense. Was it Defense of the Ancients? I think. I'll have to double check Dota meaning. Defense of the Ancients. Yeah. Defense of the Ancients was a modification of a Warcraft 3 game back in the early noughties and like towards 2010. That game became so popular that more people were playing Dota than they were playing Warcraft 3. Although back then you had to play Warcraft 3 to play Dota. But because Dota became so popular, they created an entirely separate game called Dota. And now that is the best game. That is the game that everybody plays. And nobody really plays Warcraft 3 anymore. So so the development of these games over the years, with the acceptance of the general public and the mainstream media, has propelled gaming into the forefront. Now, of course, Korean and Chinese esports stars are stars. They're big stars. They're fans. They have fans all over the world. All over the orbit. Will they be able to go out on the street and have everybody recognize them like, say, Will Smith would? No. But in Korea and the Chinese athletes, respectively, they are very well known, and they will appear on TV, and they will be interviewed. For instance, one player called Faker, I forget what his name is, Lee Sang-hyuk. Lee Sang-hyuk is considered one of the best League of Legends players of all time. He has been at the top level for the last 8 or 9 years, and he has played at a level that has remained consistent for that time. It is true, though, that when he first appeared on the scene, he was a force to be reckoned with. He did things that nobody had ever seen before. He styled on other players. He did incredible things, and this gained him notoriety. And here we see Lee Sang-hyuk is renowned for his high mechanical skill and extremely versatile champion pool. So in League of Legends, you have something called a champion, and it's a 5 versus 5 game where you have to destroy the enemy base before they destroy yours. But during that time, there's a lot of things that can be done, and you control individually one champion. And this champion, there is nearly 200 different champions that possess different skills, different traits, and they're good at different things. They do have different roles, so you can have healers, you can have tanks, you can have assassins, you can have ranged characters, you can have uh, uh, sorcerers and ranged ranged skill based attacks or ranged auto attacks. All of these different things. So it's the combination of those 5 characters versus the combination of the opposing team's 5 characters, and the goal is to beat them. And Lee Sang-hyuk, or Faker as he's more commonly known, is very good at a lot of those champions to a very high level. And it says here that he's best known for playing LeBlanc, Zed, Syndra, Azir, Ari, and Ryze, which are 5 to 6 different champions. He is the first player to have reached both 1,000 and 2,000 kills in the LCK, which is the Champions League in Korea, and as well as the first to have played 600 and 700 games and to have won 500 games. So he has a very high win rate, considering. Lee is only one of two players to have won League of Legends Championship 3 times. Granted that they haven't won, he hasn't won for a while, but the team that he is in, SK Telecom, South Korea Telecom, sponsored team called T1, he has been in those for perhaps 10 years now, nearly 10 years, and they with any great team, you cycle through players, and it's these players coming together at the right time and peaking at the right time and becoming the best team, a force to be reckoned with for some time. So the first iteration of this team, SKT1, that was so dominating was in 2013, 2015, and 2016. So 2015 and 2016, nobody could beat them. Nobody could touch them. China wanted to get in on the act. So then after that, China bought a lot of Korean players. And this was in an effort to boost the scene in Korea, boost the skill level, the skill ceiling, to make China competitive with the rest of the world. And this was successful. China now have 2 or 3 fantastic teams, all of which are capable of winning the World Championships. Korea have remained consistent because of the way that they play games, and these games in Korea are taken very seriously. And it seems here that Lee became part owner of T1's Entertainment and Sports in early 2020. So with all the money that he's earned, he's invested in it into becoming part owner of the company, which is great. Faker in particular is very famous because of the things that he did early on in his career. He humiliated other teams. Not only in Korea and Asia, but all over the world during World Championships. He would style and perform in incredible ways, and this gained him notoriety, and he's very popular, and he streams on Twitch playing League of Legends, and very popular because of this, because of how famous he is. He has he has a massive cult following, I guess you could say. But Faker isn't the only one. There are others like him. There are others like him in other games. For instance, there is an individual that plays Counter-Strike called Simple, Alexander Kostiliev, Ukrainian Counter-Strike Global Offensive player called Simple, S1MPLE, and he is regarded as one of the best players in the world right now. We can see here a list of his winning notable achievements. Notable achievements early on in his career with 3rd places, 2nd places, a couple of 1st places, a little bit inconsistent, and then when he joins a more consistent team, they're just winning more often than not. In the last, how many is the last 10? He's finished second 3 times with his team and won all the others. So the same thing here. He is styling on his opponent, and he's considered one of the very best in the world. And he earns enough money through streaming to not even need to go to these competitions. He doesn't even need to play professionally. Now everybody knows who he is. He can just sit on stream playing against random people all over the world, and people will enjoy it. I've personally never watched him, but I have watched Faker sometimes. But because he streams in Korean, through the best efforts of SK Telecom, T1, they do have translators that translate everything that he says for you as best as they can. So that's really good. Again, gaming has just progressed so far now that I do believe that at some point gaming will be on television, like on mainstream television. But it's still met with some sort of backlash and ridicule and laughter that certain news segments here in the UK on BBC One, for example, British Broadcasting Channel, they sometimes do segments about gaming, and you can see the hosts sort of laughing whilst doing these segments. They don't take it seriously, but they don't know that playing games is big business. It's no different to sitting down and picking up a controller and playing a game that requires skill as it is to pick up a tennis racket and hit a ball over net. Yes, one is more physical than the other, but both take skill and knowledge. It's just because gaming is considered recreational and not, a sport yet. I think it's going to take a while before we see world championships of Counter-Strike Go appearing in the news. They do sometimes mention it, but extremely rarely. It's usually when the money that's being won is the noteworthy part. A local team from such and such has won, £3 million for the World Championships in so and so. That's newsworthy, but the sport in general isn't, which is a shame because a lot of us love gaming and we would like to, I would like it to be considered more than it is, but that's because I am a gamer. If I wasn't a gamer and had never played games, would I look down upon gaming? Maybe. I know my ex-girlfriend did. She thought it was a complete waste of time and that people were wasting their lives sat in front of a computer and playing games all day. I don't think so. Not if you can earn a living. Not if you're happy. I think it's fine. But I think there is a healthy amount of gaming. If you can work and earn a living and game and have socializing and so on, then I think that's healthy. But an unhealthy relationship to gaming is what I used to have when I was younger, when I was like 14, 15, 16. When I'd wake up in the morning, game, barely take care of myself, eat, sleep, and game. And I'd do that from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And that's unhealthy because I never saw anybody. And I still never see anybody because I still game. But I see a lot more people now than I used to. But again, gaming has become more of just an interactive hobby. It's become a way of life for some people and a form of income for others. So I think it's come a long way. Of course, now gaming, you can do almost anything. You can have console console games, PC games. You've got tons and tons of different consoles. You've got the Xbox, you've got PlayStation, you have the old Segas back in the day, you have Nintendo Switches, you have this, that, everything else, and it's always a case of console versus PC. Who is better? Is the PC master race better, or are console gamers better? The argument to that, the answer to that question is PC gamers have more control. It's much harder on a console controller to have as much precision as somebody who has a mouse. With a mouse, you can have precise movements. With a console controller, not so much. So in an effort for console to compete with desktop gamers, they introduced something called aim assist. And this is a system in games that will help move your aim towards your target and to keep it on your target for you. It won't completely aim for you. It will just assist with your consistency. It will assist with your overall accuracy over a long period of time. Whereas a PC gamer will have to rely completely on his aim. He doesn't get aim assist because he has more control, more precise movement. So then the argument comes in here is like, is an individual that has aim assist on console better than an individual that has a mouse and keyboard on PC? That, I don't think the argument will ever be solved. It's always PC master race versus console. Is PC still the master race? If the other half are playing on console, then the answer is obvious. Is PC still the master race? The answer is no. If there are more people play on console, I think, than PC. So it's interesting. I have played on console before, but I much prefer to use a mouse and keyboard. I'm much better at it. I have more control. That's because I'm used to it. If I played on console for a year or two and practiced every day, I'd probably reach a level that would be consistent, but I still don't think I'd be as good as I am on PC. A lot of my friends that I know in real life are gamers. These are people that I met when I was younger and people that I continue to meet. They all play a variety of different games, though. Some people play games for escapism. Some people play games like my friend Greg plays role-playing games. Games that promote playing as a character of your creation and meeting other players and their character creations and entering into dialogue and playing along and getting into situations as a form of entertainment and escapism and creativity, and that's all fun. You have other games where you have like Second Life, I believe it was called. Second Life game. It says here, Second Life is an online multimedia platform that allows people to create an avatar for themselves and have a second life in an online virtual world. Developed and owned by the San Francisco-based firm Linden Lab and launched on June 23, 2003, it saw rapid growth for some years, and in 2013 it had approximately 1 million regular users. Growth eventually stabilized, and by the end of 2017 the active user count had declined to between 800,000 and 900,000, but still decent. In many ways, Second Life is similar to a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Nevertheless, Linden Lab is emphatic that their creation is not a game. There is no manufactured content, no set objective. The virtual world can be accessed freely via Linden Lab's own client software or via alternative third-party viewers. Second Life users, also called residents, create virtual representations of themselves called avatars and are able to interact with places, objects, and other avatars. They can explore the world, known as the grid, meet other residents, socialize, participate in social, individual, and group activities, build, create, shop, and trade virtual property and services with one another. So that is literally that's Escapism 2. And that's been out for 19 years. And I that for me isn't particularly my kind of game. It's I'm more of a competitive gamer. I like to shoot faces and kill things. That's my idea of a good time. Whereas other people like to socialize and have fun and chat and chill and so on. I'm more of a I'm more of a competitive gamer. Yeah, definitely more of a competitive gamer. I do enjoy, though, the odd casual game which I can relax and socialize and have fun, and there's no pressure. There's no um, there's no competition. It's just good, clean fun, friendly, casual, and win, lose or draw. You're having a good time, and for the most part of my life, I've been a gamer that's taken things very seriously. I do not like to lose, and because I don't like to lose, I try very hard. And when I fail, I get very angry because nobody likes to fail. Nobody likes to lose, and so through being very competitive, and when I lose, I tend to alienate myself from the people that I'm playing with, because when I have such a severe overreaction to losing, I can distance myself, or my friends distance themselves from me, because I've lost my temper. And nobody likes to hang around with someone who frequently loses their temper. Nobody. I don't like it. I don't like it, and yet I do it. So, for me, gaming has been something that I've taken very seriously for nearly 2 decades, far too seriously. I'm needing to learn now. I'm learning to not care so much, because at the end of the day, gaming is meant to be fun. That's the whole point of playing a game, is to have fun, to do something enjoyable. And when I'm not enjoying it, it's sort of defeating the point. Gaming nowadays may have a lot of money in it. It's big business, and it's very competitive, and it's cutthroat, and there are a lot of very similar games out there. So to be successful, you have to come up with a gimmick or think outside the box. For me, gaming over the years has sort of become less competitive. I don't like playing competitive games because I get angry, and when I get angry, I become unsociable and unlikable. And through my best efforts, continuing best efforts, I'm trying to realize that at the end of the day, playing a game is just to have fun. And I'm not creating an environment that's fun if I'm losing my temper. So I'm now having to recognize that if I'm not enjoying my experience, I need to just back out. I need to just turn it off. Go and do something else. Go and do something productive, as my parents would say. Go and make yourself useful. So that's where I'm at the moment, is trying to rediscover the art of playing and enjoying playing for the sake of playing through and it allows me to communicate and meet people and have friends. So if I can do that and be a pleasant person in that arrangement, brilliant. For everybody else, they all play games for different reasons. Escapism, interaction, fantasy, competition, fun, education. But whatever the reason is, if we can have fun and enjoy the experience at the same time, then that's something that we should we should cherish, we should enjoy, we should encourage. As for the professional side of gaming, hello, Guten. Welcome back, my guy. I'm just wrapping up this podcast, so it's about gaming and esports. Two things I've been involved with, albeit I was involved with esports over 10 years ago. But I'm still a gamer at heart. I still love playing games. And I would always encourage people to play games with me, even though some of them are reluctant. Do you play games, Guten? Are you a gamer? Do you have a console? Let us know. We have a lot of other gamers in the chat. Are you PC or console? Poshkit's PC. Digiwar's PC. Guten's PC. So we have 3 PC gamers. I'm PC. So we have 4 in the chat right now. We are winning. 4 versus. You're playing right now. What game are you playing right now? Because I will be jumping on to a game after this podcast. I will probably be playing Zombies. That zombie Project Zomboid. Trying to escape. That would be fun. That would be chill. That would give me an opportunity to cook some food while I try to survive the night. More PC. Here we go. Oh dear. So this is Second Life. I remember there being a game, virtual, where they sold virtual real estate, which sold for millions. Here we go, independent.co.uk. Options. A 500 square meter plot of virtual real estate has sold for 2.43 million, breaking the record for the largest ever metaverse land acquisition. Purchased by the firm Metaverse Group, is more than double the previous record for a sale of land or property within a virtual reality world. It follows recent announcements from Meta, formerly Facebook, Microsoft and Nike, to focus on the metaverse, a computer-simulated space in which people work, play, and interact as avatars. So what did they actually sell? We are happy to make history by closing the largest public metaverse land acquisition to date. Metaverse Group CEO Andrew Kigwell said in a statement, "These assets will complement the existing portfolio of metaverse real estate already held at Metaverse Group. Why are you spending $2.43 million on something that, for the most part, doesn't even exist?" We believe Ready Player One will be representative of the future of both business and real estate, and thus the creation of metaverse property to support the new frontier of virtual reality, the company website states. Decentraland is one of several VR platforms that Metaverse Property offers listings, which include commercial spaces, homes, hangout spots, and art galleries to display digital NFT artwork. Interesting. A recent report about the current state of the metaverse described Decentraland as the most advanced in the blockchain universe, though the Ethereum blockchain network-based VR platform remains in the early adoption phase. Wow. 2.43 million. Mark Zuckerberg thinks 1 billion people will join him in the metaverse. Okay. This happened last year. 2.4 million. Decentraland sold for a record 2.4 million worth of cryptocurrency. That's crazy. What is going on? Anyway, I'm going to call an end to this podcast. Thank you everyone for stopping